Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are tackling a really big one. We're pulling apart one of the most polarizing and honestly historic Mandarin dramas from the last few years, ABO Desire.
And this is such a critical deep dive because this show was a landmark. It was one of the very first live-action Chinese BL series to just go all in on the extremely niche and controversial Omegaverse genre.
All in is right, including the one element that pretty much guarantees controversy, MPRE, or male pregnancy.
Exactly. So our mission here is to unpack not only the very complex world building, but also to figure out why its reception was so divided. It premiered on UQ, July 12, 2025, and it blends the sci-fi tension with suspense in a really, really manipulative romance.
And the hook, the core of the show, is that this society divided into alphas, betas, and omegas.
Yeah.
It's not just how it is, it's the result of a catastrophic global virus.
Yeah, they give it a specific sci-fi origin story. The virus basically caused mutations based entirely on blood type.
A dark origin story, literally.
It really is. The virus was devastating. It wiped out anyone with an AB blood type completely. The survivors then mutated into new social castes.
So what were they?
Okay, so B types became betas. They're the largest group of survivors, but they're also nearly infertile, something like a 10% chance of conception.
Wow, okay.
A types became alphas. They're stronger, more virile, and they develop these pheromones that almost act like supernatural powers, you know?
And the O types.
They became omegas, the most fertile, and they go through mating cycles or heat, which is a classic genre staple.
And just when you think you've got the hierarchy figured out, the show throws in this wild card, the enigma.
The enigma, yes.
Yeah.
They were the ultimate anomaly. A 1 in 200 million rarity, totally outside the normal hierarchy. They can dominate even the strongest alphas, and get this, they can get alphas pregnant.
That one detail changes everything. It completely subverts the power dynamics you expect.
It's the whole point. And that sets us up perfectly for the main couple, which is all about subversion. We're talking about Hua Yong, the Enigma, and Sheng Shaoyou, the S-tier alpha CEO.
And S-tier means what exactly? Like the absolute top of the food chain.
The absolute peak. The most powerful, most dominant alpha you can imagine. And their story is, well, it's built on obsession, deception, and a massive power play.
So what's the central conflict?
Sheng Shaoyou, the alpha CEO, is desperately seeking a cure for his father's rare pheromone gland cancer. This leads him to investigate rival companies. And that's where Hua Yong comes in. He's the wealthy Enigma heir of a rival company called X Holdings. And he has been pathologically obsessed with Shaoyou since they were kids.
Okay, here's where it gets really nuts, right? Hua Yong doesn't just, ask him out. He creates a whole fake identity.
A completely fabricated identity. He studies Shaoyou and figures out his type is this sort of poor damsel in distress. So that's what he becomes.
Wait, he studies his type?
Oh, yeah. He goes through all of Xiaoyu's ex-lovers to perfect this fragile, burdened persona.
Yeah.
He even steals the backstory of another character, the whole hospitalized sister thing, just to milk Xiaoyu's emotions.
That's next-level manipulation.
It's not a courtship, it's an operation.
Yeah.
He goes undercover as an intern at Xiaoyu's company and uses these little tricks, like a daily cookie deliveries, to sort of train the alpha, like a Pavlovian response.
Wow. And this is what makes the show so polarizing, right? Because Hua Yong is basically a stalker.
He's described as a master manipulator, the stalker princess of power. He has this incredibly calculating, dominant streak hidden under a very fragile exterior. And the series sells this maniacal love as the central romance.
Which a lot of fans found compelling.
Absolutely compelling. But critics, of course, flagged the huge moral issues, the manipulation, the power imbalance. It pushes the boundaries of what we call romance.
So it's not about being rescued by a powerful person. It's about being completely outsmarted and claimed by them.
Exactly. Which brings us to how this all escalates.
Right. The power dynamic totally flips in the later episodes, starting around episode 4.
Yeah, the toxicity really peaks. After Xiaoyu proposes marking him, Hua Yong just rejects it and disappears. Then he reveals his true identity as the head of X Holdings. The whole deception is out.
But the power play isn't over.
Not even close.
Yeah.
In episode 12, Xiaoyu gets kidnapped and injected with a toxin. The only way to save his life is for Hua Yong, the Enigma, to permanently mark him.
So he's forced into it.
Yes. And then in episode 13, Hua Yong drops the final bombshell. He reveals he's an Enigma and that he's been in love with and plotting to get Xiaoyu for 15 years.
Leaving Xiaoyu just stunned, I imagine.
Stunned is an understatement. But then comes the ultimate twist, the biological game changer.
The MPRE.
The MPRE, the super dominant S-tier alpha, Sheng Shaoyou, becomes pregnant. This is the show delivering on its premise in the most subversive way possible. The top predator is forced into the biological role of an Omega.
Okay, hold on. The sources say he accepts Hua Yong's proposal after all this? After the kidnapping, the non-consensual marking, the pregnancy? How does the show even justify that?
That's one of the biggest criticisms. The show sort of skips the psychological healing. It's almost transactional. Hua Young's power plus the baby seems to be enough to make the betrayal okay.
To acceptance through what? Biological necessity?
And maybe just power fatigue.
Yeah.
They end up with their child, Hua Sheng, living a happy family life, and the dynamic shifts. Hua Yong, the enigma, often plays the mom role, while Xiaoyu, the alpha, goes back to work.
A messy but decisive win for the manipulator.
Absolutely.
Let's shift gears to the second couple, because they're a huge contrast, right, in terms of class and just pure English.
Oh, yeah. This is Gao Tu, an Omega pretending to be a Beta, and Shen Wenlang, another Alpha CEO who is Xiaoyu's rival and, crucially, hates Omegas.
And Gao Tu is the real working-class character.
He is. He's struggling with debt, an abusive father, hospital bills for a sick sister. I mean, he lives in actual squalor. He is the genuine burden character.
Wait a minute. He's the character whose backstory Hua Yong stole.
That's the meta-narrative twist, yes. Hua Yong didn't just manipulate his lover. He basically plagiarized the most tragic story from the B-plot.
That's brilliant and awful.
It is. And Gao Tu's life is all about hiding. He's taking dangerous amounts of suppressants to hide his Omega identity because he's been in love with Wenling for 10 years, and he knows about his prejudice.
How does that story end? Please tell me it gets better.
It gets worse before it gets complicated. He resigns in episode 12, then finds out he's pregnant. He decides to raise the child alone and just cuts off all contact.
And Len.
He almost goes into what the lore calls mate-seeking syndrome. Just this state of desperate biological need.
Yeah.
He spends 3 years searching for him and finally tracks him down in another country.
And this reunion scene is what made fans so angry.
Furious. Because the series gives you this one. Abrupt scene in an amusement park. Wenling sees Gao Tu and their son, and that's it. It just cuts off. The actual reconciliation, the healing, that was all in the novel's extra chapters, not on screen.
So the couple that arguably deserved the happiest ending got the most unsatisfying one.
A massive narrative betrayal for a lot of viewers.
Okay, let's zoom out. Production, reception. The show looked amazing, but it had issues.
Definitely a high-end aesthetic. Grand sets, infinity pools, it all looked incredibly expensive. But critics pointed out a lot of flaws. Storytelling felt choppy, the pacing was really slow at times.
Especially that first episode, I heard. Lots of exposition.
Way too much. And the music was kind of bland, lots of forgettable piano pieces. And don't get me started on the beauty filters.
Ah, yes. Airbrushed into oblivion.
Pretty much. The actors are gorgeous, but the filters made everything look a bit flat and artificial, which kind of undercut the high drama.
But the real conversation wasn't just about the quality, it was about censorship, wasn't it?
This is the key. That choppy editing and slow pacing. It probably wasn't just bad filmmaking. It was likely the result of trying to navigate China's strict censorship laws.
You think they were cutting things as they went?
I think they had to. And the proof is that the show got pulled from major streaming platforms, WeTV, Youku, IQIYI, while it was still airing.
Pulled mid-run?
Yeah. That immediate suppression shows just how big of a risk they took with explicit BL and MPRG content. They successfully crossed a line.
So the show's legacy isn't just about the story, it's about the fact it got made and aired at all. It's almost a political statement.
It is. ABO Desire proved there's a huge audience for this stuff in live action, but it also showed the immense risk involved. It sparked a huge conversation about queer visibility and acceptance, even if the show itself had to sacrifice narrative coherence to get its point across.
So the final takeaway for you is, this is a landmark show, one that chose bold, risky concepts over a smooth story.
It absolutely is. And that leads to our final thought for you to chew on. If the core appeal of the main romance is rooting for a master manipulator, a sociopath who uses his power to claim the person he loves, what does that say about the kind of stories we crave when we abandon traditional ideas of love for pure, high-stakes obsession?
Thank you for diving deep with us.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing.